Is there any better way for me? Now that's me specifically, not Meg 2 Palmetto, to say every season is stout season. But with me drinking a stout in August, but you seeing it in October when it's actually stout season for the rest of the beer drinking world who's not psychotic like me. I think not. So let's see what Chocolate Raspberry Stout by Steel Hands Brewing Company, just down over here in Cayce, is all about together right after the freestyle.
Welcome back into the Midland studio as per usual with your host, Nutmeg 2 Palmetto. And what do they say, don't wear white after Labor Day? Oh well. Actually, technically when I'm recording this, it's not after Labor Day, so technically I'm still in the clear. Anyway, we're going to wrap up the Steel Hands Appreciation Week, one of my super hyper local breweries, with something a little heavier, but probably still a little bit on the decadent side. I have had this before, actually twice before, once off tap and once out of the can. But I need a little memory refresher, and what's a better memory refresher to go down than, of course, the road of stouts, because as we all know, it is hashtag always, every season is stout season. Almost screwed up my own hashtag there, but you know what, I recovered. Anyway, so this one on Untappd checks in at 8.8, which is confirmed on the can. It has a pretty low IBU count of 25. It's got a fairly low check-in total, although it's not that old a beer. It was done, I think, late last year on draft. Because I remember having this on draft, and then a fellow beer reviewer of mine, influencer of mine, when they put it in cans, messaged me, hey, can you grab this? And I was like, oh yeah, sure. And then when I went to grab it, of course I had one, because I'm thinking it's a new beer. And I go to check it in, and I'm like, wait, I already had this. So it was originally released late last year, but then it was canned around February because I think they did this for Valentine's Day or something like that. It is an Imperial Stout, which you can probably guess because of the ABV. Dripping at decadence, full-bodied and conditioned with cocoa nibs and raspberries. It looks like it says that on the can, but there's a little bit extra. Or it's different, worded differently anyway. Dripping in decadence, our chocolate raspberry stout is a full-bodied Imperial Stout brewed with cocoa nibs and raspberries. Rich notes of chocolate and berries, finished with medium bitterness. What's that? A treat fit for sharing or keeping all to yourself. So maybe that's like because it was Valentine's Day, maybe it's like an ode to it being a Valentine's Day beer to split with your significant other, or just a beer to keep for yourself because it's also Singles Awareness Day. I digress. Anyway, let's refresh my memory and just see how sweet, bitter, or fruity this actually comes out being, and get right to it.
Ooh, that was the crispest shaklook I've heard in a good long while. Look at that cascade.
Top it off, although there's not much space left to top off. That is, I think it's got a little whiff of berry. That settled in at a solid 4-finger head. A little under actually. It is a big frothy, a little darker than khaki type of brown head. It's nice and foamy and bubbly. There's almost no light that gets through that. I can see a little teeny tiny bit around the edge, but I think that's just from benefit of the lamp. And it's pretty dark and opaque, as a stout should be. There's a lot of head to get through. That's what she said. I do pick up the cocoa more. That's for sure. I don't, like I said, I needed a memory refresh. I don't remember what this was like the first time I tried it or the second time I tried it. However, what I get the most of is definitely the cocoa. I'm not really getting the berries too much. I mean, there may be some. It may be the berries. If the berries are like in there in the aroma. And that being said, at least as much as I can pick up through that foamy head. If the berry aroma is in there, it's like it's akin to the kind of berries you smell when they're inside of a dessert. You know, like you have a chocolate cake and there's raspberries or strawberries or whatever embedded in the cake, as opposed to just the natural fruity effervescent aroma as it stands. So I'm interested to taste it, and I have actually a memory of what it tastes like, and I'm curious to see if it still stacks up or changes like some of the other ones. So let's not waste any more time. Take a sip. Slight difference, but it is pretty similar to how I remember it. Let's talk about it. So, by my memory, and first of all, just look at that lacing. That's exceptional lacing, especially for a stout. By my memory, when I drank this the last time, what I recall of it is it had this sort of tart, almost sour, thinner side of flavor, and or at least as thin as something that looks like this can be. But it was definitely a lot thinner than you would think a stout probably would be, and it had this sour tart kind of flavor, but that didn't recognize you to it being raspberry or anything like that. This one, that thinness, or no, I shouldn't say this one because it's the same beer. Drinking it a few months after the fact, it's not nearly as thin. It's probably on the heavier side of medium. And there's definitely a bit of a tangy chocolate flavor. It's not very bitter, although they did say, where was it? I think it was on the can. They said medium bitterness. I don't even know if it qualifies medium bitterness. I mean, I guess soft bitterness or low bitterness wouldn't be bitter at all. So I guess medium bitterness is probably fair. But it's not, it doesn't like hang around with that at all. And I will say, I can taste somewhere in there where that tart flavor was. It's just not tart anymore. So it's actually, as much as I was looking forward to seeing how the raspberry affected it a few months after the fact, it's actually, and not really getting that, I can say it's actually a lot more enjoyable now. Because it's something's there. If I didn't know what it tasted like prior, I probably wouldn't have known anything otherwise. However, because that was such a weird flavor to me the first time, it's a lot more palatable to me now, having more of that chocolate cocoa presence as opposed to the raspberry presence, which was there before, but I didn't enjoy it as much. So I do kind of enjoy this now, even though it's not necessarily hanging around like I thought it would be or might be. I hope you hang around like I think you might be. If you're watching on YouTube, go down below. Make sure to subscribe if you're not already, and hit the notification bell so you know exactly when all my content goes live, whether it's beer related or otherwise. And if you're watching on Rumble, smash that follow button to work my subscriber count up there as well. And if you're watching on YouTube and stouts are your thing, head on down to the comments. The first one pinned has a link to a playlist of all the other stouts that I've reviewed in the past. Cheers, friends. We'll see you next time.